call the meeting to order. Please join me for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we have roll call, please?
You certainly may. Councilmember Kelly.
Present.
Councilmember Miller.
Here.
Councilmember Lane.
Here.
Councilmember Mendoza.
Here.
Councilmember Best.
Here.
Vice Mayor Turner.
Here.
And Mayor Croft.
Here. Okay, let's go on with introductions, presentations, and proclamations. First of all is presentation by Yavapai County Board of Supervisors and County Administrator Phil Bardone regarding the May 20.
Now do it.
Do I have to have that on?
They can't hear you. And they're in our
That's my
room.
question.
We're in the same room.
Let me start again. Presentation by Yavapai County Board of Supervisors and County Administrator Phil Bardone regarding the May 2018 ballot measure pertaining to the 1/4 cent sales tax that partially funds the Yavapai County jail system. Mr. Bardone, would you come up, please? With your entourage?
Actually, I'm his entourage.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's on. Mayor, council, I always have to practice not saying chairman, board of supervisors, so mayor, council. I'm here actually, my name's Phil Bordon, county administrator. We have your supervisor, District 4 Supervisor Craig Brown also here, and Captain Jeff Newnham from the Sheriff's Department, who runs the jail in this county. So if it's okay, I'll just give a brief overview, and I think these two gentlemen will add some information to what my remarks are to this council. Just for perspective of what we've provided the council is a trifold that we actually are using to get information out to the public. The Board of Supervisors is asking the public to consider extending the existing 1/4 cent sales tax that funds the county jail. Just a little brief history. Back prior to 1999, the jail in Yavapai County was funded not only by the county, but by cities and towns. When you put somebody in that jail, you actually had to pay for that service. The County Board of Supervisors that year in 1999 took advantage of legislation available to create a special district, a jail district, to fund construction, operation, maintenance of jails in the county. And with that, they asked the voters to approve a 1/4 cent sales tax. The voters overwhelmingly that year approved it. It was actually 70% approval rate. That put in place for a 20-year period. The Board of Supervisors had asked the voters to consider it for a 20-year period. That's not uncommon to bring it back to the public again to make sure the public has an opportunity to review what a tax has been put in place, the performance of it, and again, reaffirm the use of that tax. In this case, we come to a point, the county board and the county, where this sales tax will expire in June 2020. One of the primary jobs I have at Yavapai County is developing and working with the board on the budget, the county's budget, of which the jail district is a big component of. The jail budget is an $18.1 million $18.1 million budget. This sales tax comprises 48% of that revenue. The county, if this goes away, will need to figure out how to plug that hole of the revenue, because we know we can't reduce the jail costs. Captain Newnham can speak to the fact of how well the jail is run and how efficient it is, but I can tell you that it is a operation that is 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. It's staff intensive, and they don't get to turn customers away, as they say sometimes. So the key is, when I was working with the board on developing budget last year, we knew that we were going to have to come to the public and address this issue, because if it doesn't get approved, I have to work with the board over the next 2 years to figure out how to deal with this. Some people will ask, well, how's other ways to fund this $8.8 million? Obviously the board and other legislative bodies have the ability sometimes to have property taxes. This county and this Board of Supervisors has kept the property taxes as low as possible, partly because sales tax like this have been in place to generate monies for the jail district. Currently, the Board of Supervisors primary property tax, which is the largest funding mechanism in their general fund, is actually at 80% of the limit. They kept below the statutory limit by $11 million. They've left that on the table, trying to keep the taxes as low as possible. So the Board of Supervisors is asking for the public to look at this in May 15th, 2018. A lot of information in our pamphlet. We also have a website, yavapaijail.com. This is going to be an all-mail in ballot. That's M-A-I-L. So it's meant for trying to get the word out. It's going to not have any polling places. So you're going to receive your ballots in the mail about April 23rd or right about that time. You'll want to vote. That's what we suggest. We want to urge people to vote, whatever they feel, and get the ballot in by 7 p.m. May 15th. With that, I'm going to ask Captain Noonan if he can come up and give just a perspective of how the jail is run, some of the programs that they've put in place to ensure that people are not in jail that don't need to be there, as well as run it efficiently, and as well as help people while they're in there not get back in there.
Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you for allowing me to come. My name is Jeff Noonan. I'm the jail commander for Yavapai County. And it's a pleasure for me to talk about the jail, because a lot of people, they have this misconception of what our jail is and what it looks like. But it is a absolute full-time operation. It's immense for Yavapai County as a whole, all 8,100 square miles. We have 13 agencies that use our jail. And we have the jail has a bed population of 644, but only 515 of those beds can be operationally used, because by law I have to keep 20% open for classification. And what that means is we can't mix females with males, as you would be aware, and sex offenders with general population and whatnot. We can't mix. People that are being disciplined for whatever reason have to be segregated. And so that's that 20%. Also in that 20%, we have the infirmary, we have intake, those types of things. So 515 beds is what we actually have to work with. Our daily population averaged last year 579 for those 515 beds. Today I have 56 inmates on the floor, and that's for January. That's pretty busy. We're supposed to be around 400 in January, and we're at 523 right now. So we're pretty packed. And what I like to share are just a few numbers, because you hear these things on the news where I'll be driving to work, and you'll hear people talk about our jail that have never worked in the jail, and they say if we just open up the doors and let all the misdemeanors out and everybody that's just simple possession of marijuana, we'd have an empty jail. Well, 96% of our population are in there for felonies. Only 4% are there for misdemeanors, and the average length of stay for a misdemeanor is 4 days. So that's not the population that we deal with. The other astounding number that we constantly look at is the population that comes back, who are recidivating, who are coming back time and time again. And so we did a study a few years ago, and what we found is that even today it's true, 47 to 53% of our population are suffering from a mental health issue or a co-occurring disorder, which means that they have a serious mental illness or a substance abuse issue or a combined issue of SMI and substance abuse. So we wanted to take a look at what we could do to possibly lower that number and deal with our jail population. And that's what you have in front of you are some of the programs that we're doing, the pre-arrest mental health diversion programs, the post-arrest diversion programs. And what we're doing is we're taking that population and we're looking at linking them to care before they get out of jail. And for the post-arrest diversion program, we started that a couple of years ago. And what we noticed is everybody that we could get our hands on that had a serious mental illness or a substance abuse issue and do a screening, an assessment, and a treatment plan for those folks, if they were willing to enroll in that post-arrest diversion program, their recidivism was 19%. What was interesting to us is if you took all the jails in the state of Arizona, every county, all 15 counties, and you looked at how many inmates were actually being released back to the population, that's about 200,000 inmates that go back into our communities every year. We intake about 10,000 into our jail every year. The average recidivism for the state of Arizona is 38%. So what we were able to do is through these programs, we've been reducing our recidivism to 19%. Right now it's hovering around 26%, but still 15 to 20% lower than the state average. And that has reduced our jail population and reduced costs for us. Most of these programs that you see here in your pamphlet are grant funded. That means that they don't come out of the jail district. And I would like to just add, I'm not here to tell you whether to vote for the jail district or not. I can't do that. But my budget is $18.1 million. This jail district tax brings in $8.8. It is a current tax, and it is not for a new jail. It's just to continue my operation today. And in order to continue going forward, we've had to look at these programs. We've had to look at grants that we can bring in that fund some of these. And that's what the post-arrest diversion program, the pretrial diversion program, it's funded through the Bureau of Justice in the state of Arizona through access money. So it doesn't come out of our jail district. So those are some of the things that we've been able to do. But the jail costs, what we're noticing is that every year our population goes up 10%. 10%. Last summer, we hit 647 inmates in July. This summer, we're going to get close to 700 inmates. So we have to continue to do things, just operate day to day with the facility that we have. But our costs are continue to go up as well. Our transportation costs, our jail is in Camp Verde. The jail in Prescott is just a housing facility. It's not even up to code to use for housing if I wanted to overnight. It's just a holding facility for the courts. The transportation costs every year to get people from Camp Verde to Prescott is over $1 million. You know, so that's a big cost. Our medical costs. When somebody comes into the jail, we have to provide them anything that they may need, from a cavity filling to pulling a tooth to last year we had to amputate a leg. You know, so everything and anything that comes in, we have to pay those bills. So that's part of the funding that we rely on the jail district for. But one of the things that you'll see, and Sheriff Masher is constantly looking at ways to reduce those costs. The inmate copay that you see in your brochure, what we've done is through modernizing some of the visitation, the phone calls, the video visits, we generate revenues off of those. We also generate revenues from commissary. You know, we feed the inmates 3 times a day, which equates to 53,000 meals a month. And we've gotten those costs per meal down to 87 cents per meal, which is pretty good, but they still get hungry. So they want their treats at night. So they buy their commissary. All of those funds go right back into the helping the inmates with their GED, with special programs, anything that we can think of. Every single cent goes back into helping those inmates do better on the outside so they don't come back. So those are the types of things that we're trying to do. It's going forward. If we have to cut funding or cut services, you'll see some of these grant programs like the post-arrest diversion program. As you know, with grants, we may be able to fund them for 2 years. We get that award for 2 years. But if we start having to cut services, we won't be able to keep those going. So that's kind of the jail in a snapshot. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Yes, sir.
The population increase of 10% seems to be what you said is going on. Is the general population of the county also going up 10% or better? How's
Yes.
that proportional?
What we've noticed, we had the Chin study that came out a few years ago, showed us that as the population increased, now I don't know what the percentage of the population increases right now, but right now 230,000 residents. I've heard people that they're starting to project that the population of Yavapai County is going to be around 250 here pretty soon. But what we've noticed is our average daily population from year to year to year, going back to 2005, has increased steadily 10% each year.
Thank you.
Questions on this side? Supervisor Brown?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Good to see you all again as usual, every other Tuesday night or so. This is not going to be one of your record breakers, though, I don't believe. I just wanted to mention to the people that are listening out there and watching on television that this, have to reemphasize again, this has nothing to do with a new jail. This has to do with the existing costs of the existing jail that we currently have in this system. The impact of not having this passed during this next election, it's going to be draconian. It's going to be, it leaves basically the Board of Supervisors with nothing other to deal with except raising property taxes and or charging back to the cities. Now, for the city of Chino Valley or the town of Chino Valley, city of Prescott, Prescott Valley, Camp Verde, Cottonwood, Sedona, it will be devastating to your budgets because it will have a major impact on them. And I want to thank the mayor and I want to thank the police chief for voicing their opinions in regards to supporting this, and we appreciate all the support we get from everybody in the community. So far, most people are saying, quote, this is a no-brainer, but still we see people out there that realize when they see the word tax, they freak out. This is an existing tax. This already is there. You're already paying it. It's part of the 3/4 of a cent that you pay to the county, and that's all you pay to the county. So we have to maintain this and support, our jail as best we can for now. The question of the jail will be a discussion sometime in the future, not near, but down the road. And it's really important that everybody realizes this is just to keep things status quo. And I want to thank you all.
Thank you. Our issue here in Chino Valley is we have a magistrate court, we do not have a jail, and we don't want a jail because that requires 24-hour coverage. It'd be very, 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 very expensive for the town. So we're looking forward to continuing the service that the county provides with our law enforcement officers and with our courts.
And we just want to thank you for letting us have time and come and visit with you and give you the information as well as the public in Chino Valley. So thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank
And
you, Phil.
if there's any other questions, we're here. But other than that, just want to make sure we thank you for your time.
No question. All right, thank you, Phil. Okay, let's go on to the second item B, proclamation declaring January 21st to 27th, 2018 as School Choice Week, sponsored by the National School Choice Week. And since there's no one here from that group, I will in fact read the proclamation. School Choice Week, January 21st to 27th, 2018. Whereas all children in Chino Valley should have access to a highest quality education possible, and whereas the Chino Valley recognizes the important role that an effective education plays in preparing all students in Chino Valley to be successful adults, and whereas quality education is critically important to the economic vitality of Chino Valley, and whereas Chino Valley is home to a multitude of excellent educational options for which parents can choose for their children, and whereas educational variety not only helps to diversify our economy, but also enhances the vibrancy of our community, and whereas our area has many high-quality teaching professionals who are committed to educating our children, and whereas School Choice Week is celebrated across the country by millions of students, parents, educators, schools, and organizations to raise awareness of the need for effective educational options. And now, therefore, I, Darrell Croft, Mayor of Town of Chino Valley, do hereby proclaim January 21st to 27th, 2018 as School Choice Week in Chino Valley, Arizona, and urge all our citizens to recognize this observation. Thank you. Okay, the next session is call to the public. Call to the public is an opportunity for the public to address the council on any issue within the jurisdiction of the council that is not on the agenda. Public comment is encouraged. Individuals are limited to speak for 3 minutes. The total time for call to the public may be up to 30 minutes per meeting. Council action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date, or responding to criticism. Is there anyone out there who would like to come forward for call to the public? Hearing no one, I'll go on to response to the public. Response to the public is an opportunity for the mayor to inform the public about how town officials address matters raised during call to the public at a previous meeting. We have no response to the public. Let's move on to current events, summaries, and reports. This item is for information only. The mayor and any council member or town manager may present a brief summary of a report of current events or ask the staff member to provide the same. Presentation on information requested by the mayor and council will be made and questions answered. No action will be taken. The first is reports by the mayor and council. Does anyone on the council have?
I don't.
On this side?
Not me.
The 10th of this month, January 10th, the town manager and myself, we had coffee with the mayor and town manager at Overview Coffee. We had a nice turnout, and we really enjoyed it. We got a lot of feedback. Mostly it was on roads and streets, and what was the other one?
Trash.
Trash. Too many trash trucks. So those we're taking into consideration. We're going to be working on those two items, especially because we have a strategic plan session coming up in the next couple of weeks or next month. And we're also having another one. The second one will be on February.
I want to say it's the 28th. We'll have it out
28th.
there in front of the public. It's
Yeah,
a month off.
February 28th is when we're trying to plan it, and we'll be at our new community center. So we're asking you to come out, take a look at our community center, and spend some time talking to myself and the town manager. We can try to answer your questions, and we need that input, that information, that communication to come back to the town council. We'll invite all our town council members there, and maybe you can ask them questions too. So if
Mayor, we were also going to have our public works director at that next
we will have,
house.
where's Frank? Frank Marbury, who, I see a hand, who is our public works director. He will be there, and he'll answer questions about what he has going on in public works. Any other comments? Okay. It's your turn, town manager.
Sorry, Mayor. I thought you were going to mention the Citizens Academy.
Oh, yes. Starting next month, the 1st of March, we'll start the Citizens Academy. It is 8 weeks. It's about 2 hours on a Thursday evening for 8 weeks. And we actually have all the department heads. We have educational groups come in, citizens from the town, the service clubs, and we ask them to talk about their organizations. We have all the department heads talk about their portion of the town, so you get a real good look at what the town is and how it functions. This is especially important for somebody that's new to town, to come in and find out what's going on and how you can access what we do and the services we have here at town. Anything else I forgot?
No, but I have a few additional things.
Okay.
You're surprised. Jamie, would you put up the anniversaries? And
I'm trying to reconnect to Phyllis. We keep getting disconnected.
She's talking about Phyllis, and that's our attorney. She's our town attorney, and she's in Phoenix, so we try to Skype her in or on the
I'd
phone.
just like to recognize the employees mentioned on here: Steve Jones, Jerry Miller, Gary Brusso, Marilee Easton, Aaron Deskins, Mary Ham, Josh McIntyre, and Alex Lerma, who've all had anniversaries in this month of January, and this shows the amount of years that they've been with the town. So thank you to all these employees. The mayor and I hosted a breakfast for these employees last week, and it was well attended. So
It
thank you
was
for
well
sharing that
attended
with me.
fun to sit down and talk to her.
And so, Mayor, you asked me also to summarize the coffee at Overflow Coffee. I want to thank the citizens who did come out. But generally speaking, the two topics that were of interest to the community were trash and the roads. So we will have additional community outreach, and please watch the paper, our Facebook page, and our website for additional outreach. I wanted to mention at our next council meeting in February, we will have an update on the Aquatic Center with a fee schedule change. But I also think there are very many positive things that they're also changing at the same time with the Aquatic Center. I don't know if you recall, last year we were going to change the fees, and we had a little glitch with the noticing period, and so we withdrew the fee increase. So we'll propose that back to you, but they have some other positive changes coming too. But I wanted to mention it because it got a lot of attention last year, so I wanted to give people a heads up it's coming up. Let's see. I also wanted to mention in today's or tomorrow's newspaper, there are several articles on here about tragedies that have happened. It's Chino shootout and Chino fire kills someone. I just wanted you to know that these did not occur in Chino Valley proper. They were in the county, but our police officers did assist at some level, but just kind of let you know that they really didn't happen in town limits. So if you hadn't heard about them yet, that's why they were out in the county. And I think that's it for me.
Anything? That's it? None of you? Frank?
Do we need to pause to call Phyllis?
Mayor, if you want to read the action.
I will in just a minute. Councilmember Lane?
I was just wondering if we needed a pause to connect with Phyllis before we continue. She's trying another computer, so we'll give her a chance. If not, we'll call her on the phone.
Well, let's go on with your proposed chip seal program for spring.
Okay.
This is Frank Marbury. He's our Public
Public-
Works Director, Town Engineer, and I don't know what else,
Whatever's needed.
whatever's needed.
So, thank you, Mayor and Council. Jamie, is it okay if I drive, or?
Let's see. There we go.
I've got a few slides for you because Joe Duffy said we needed more slides, so. just,
You did. Okay.
So, just wanted to give you a quick update on our 2018 spring pavement. There should be an extra E in there, by the way. So engineers aren't the best spellers in the road preservation program. The roads committee met. Let's see if I can adjust this a little bit. And we went over a list of streets that we can work on besides all of them. We expect for this year, we estimate that we might have about $300,000 to $350,000 available for pavement preservation through mostly the HERF funds. And in that discussions, I wanted to bring some of the streets that we're proposing to work on this year. If you remember this map, this was the road condition map from 2017. I've still yet to update it with some of the work we did this year. So as you can see, the yellow and red, there's a lot of it there. We're slowly trying to work on that, and the goal is to make this all green at some point. To get down to the roads we're looking at, for North Reed Road from Road 3 up to Road 4, and in the same area, Road 4 North, starting at Reed Road and working back towards 1 West, towards the highway. We need to pulverize those roads completely. As you can see with these pictures, this is the intersection of Reed Road and 4 North, and they're just completely shot. So we're planning to bring in crews to pulverize those, and then our own crews will add some base material to beef up the section of road, and the contractor will come in and lay down a double chip seal layer. So that's up on the north end of town. This is the intersection of Road 3 North and 1 East, where the traffic light is. And before the roundabout at Perkinsville came in, it took a lot of abuse from truck traffic. So we're proposing to remove that intersection and replace it with hot mix asphalt paving. With the turning traffic there, the chip seal would just be torn out. So we need to do a more expensive asphalt. And this is just that particular intersection. We're looking here, not the roads associated with it. We'll have to get those at another time. Moving down further south, this is Road 1 East from Highway 89, or excuse me, Road 1 North, it should read, from Highway 89 to Road 1 East. Over by the new restaurant there is Danny B's Fish and Chips on the corner. We're going to have to pulverize and redo that road like the others with a double chip. Yeah, that should read East Road 1 North from Highway 89 to North Road 1 East. So sometimes I get my north and east mixed up. But we will adjust those limits. Just a heads up of what's coming up there. The state is proposing to put in a signal there in summer or fall of 2019. So we're going to work with the engineering consultant on that and adjust our limits so that we're not doing extra work. And that should tie in good there. And that'll also provide us a decent road for when we eventually get to working on Road 2 North over by Safeway. So we're hoping to hold that road together until the signal can go in here and provide those residents towards the east another way out when we start working on Road 2. And here's another road we're working on the south end. This is the Outer Loop Road. We'll start at Highway 89 and work to Johnson Lane, which is just past Road 1 West. This is an asphalt road with some chip seal over it, so we're trying to save this road, and so we're just proposing a single chip layer on it with some areas of selected patching. This picture kind of shows one of the areas we need to patch, and it's hard to see, but further down that picture the road's in better shape. And we're hoping the dollars we spend there will last several years longer than if we put those dollars on a road that's in worse shape, trying to get the best bang for our buck. So what we plan to do here, we didn't discuss it in the roads committee, but another street we need to include is Jerome Junction, which is south of the road project we just finished with the EDA grant. There's a portion of that that's still gravel, and we need to do some alignment work to straighten that road out as it goes towards Perkinsville Road. So what we'll do there is use our own town crews to do the dirt work, and then have the contractor come in with a double chip layer. And we'll probably build that so we can come back in several years. If you start seeing more truck traffic in that area, we'll build it to where you can add additional asphalt to that at that time when it's needed. So that's pretty much about 3 miles of road, and that's all we're going to get for our money this year. If we do have any extra cushion in there, we'll probably look to extend the limits of our 4 North so that maybe we can get all the way between Reed and 1 West and finish that up. We just have to see how far the money goes. As far as bidding the project, we looked at the county, and I'm not sure if the county bid for chip seal this year. We had used cooperative language for their bid in the past. We may need to put our own bid out now, and luckily we have enough time to put that out and still get these roads done in the spring. So I'll be working over the next couple of weeks to put a package together, and if we bid that out, we'll advertise that and bring it back to the council for approval after advertisement. Or if we find another contract to use, we'll bring that back to the council. So nothing really to act on tonight, just letting you know what we're planning on putting out for this year's program. So thank you.
Question, anyone? Question?
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Fran. Okay, let's go on to consent agenda. All those items listed below are considered to be routine and may be enacted by one motion. Any council member may request to remove an item from the consent agenda to be considered and discussed separately. Anyone who want to pull that one item?
I think you can go.
All right. Would you read the consent agenda, please?
Okay.
There we
Good
go.
timing.
6A, consideration and possible action to accept the January 9, 2018 regular meeting minutes.
Is there a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve, accept the January 9th, 2018 regular meeting minutes.
Do we have a second?
Second it.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Let's go on to item 7, action items. The council may vote to recess the public meeting and hold an executive session on any item on this agenda pursuant to ARS 38-431-03A3 for the purpose of discussion or consultation for legal advice with the town attorney. Executive sessions are not open to the public and no action may be taken in executive session. Okay, let's go to item A. Consideration and possible action to 1, hold a public hearing regarding application from Teresa Morse for the acquisition of control of an existing Series 12 restaurant liquor license for Pizza Hut located at 312 Marketplace Drive, Chino Valley. And the second part of that is to allow or protest the change of ownership to the Arizona Department of Liquor License and Controls. First of all, I need a motion to open this up to public comment.
Make a motion to hold a public hearing.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, we are in a public hearing, so if anyone has anything to say about this liquor license, please come up to the podium. Hearing none, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, now the question is, as a council, do we allow or protest the change of ownership?
I have no
Question.
problem.
No problem this side.
Well, I'm gonna ask for a motion to allow them.
Okay. Make a motion to approve the acquisition of control for an existing Series 12 and, I guess, change of ownership.
Okay. Is there a second?
I
Second.
it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Let's move on to item B. Consideration and possible action to approve a conditional use permit, CUP 17-003, for Primrose Inn and RV to allow a 22-unit RV park on a 2.84 acre property located approximately 0.25 miles north of the northwest corner of West Road 2 North and State Route 89 at 1304 North State Route 89, identified as Assessor Partial number 30620-022. Mr. Lerman.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Council. Before you have a request for the applicant Primrose Inn and RV. The applicant is requesting for approval of a conditional use permit that would allow them to conduct a 22-unit RV park. Property is located a quarter of a mile north of the northwest corner of West Road 2 North and State Route 89 intersection at 1304 North State Route 89. The property is approximately 2 acres, 2.81 acres. It has currently has a zoning of commercial light, and current uses are a motel in the front and an RV park in the back with currently 14 RV spaces. Just a brief history about the parcel. Primrose Inn has been there since 1942. During the 1980s, 2 building permits were issued to allow 2 mobile homes on site as single-family residents. And in December of 1994, the property owners at that time proposed to rezone from residential 2 to commercial 1, which is an equivalent of what we know now as commercial light. In March of 2000, the property owner initiated the process and applied for a conditional use permit for 10 RV spaces at that time. And that conditional use permit was approved with after 5 years that they would apply for a new conditional use permit. After 5 years, the property owner again in 2005 applied for a new conditional use permit to allow again those 10 spaces. That conditional use was approved, and with a condition that he apply again in 10 years. In 2009, there arose an issue about RV spaces that the town considered not to be within the RV park, for RVs to be exact.
Pardon?
I need to call Phyllis. We have no sound.
Okay, we're going to continue with this and we'll go on.
Is it
Continue.
okay if I call her though?
Sure.
Again, in 2009, there arose an issue between the town and the property owner at the time about 4 RV spaces that town considered not to be within the RV park. After further research of the parcel file, give me just a minute. The assistant zoning administrator at the time, Michael Beauvais, wrote a letter clarifying the issue in regards to Primrose and the legal nonconforming uses within the property. The document referenced the legality of the uses of the 10 RV spaces based on the conditional use permit, and gives reference clarification to the 4 RV spaces that were not located within the RV park. He concluded that that the 2 mobile homes that were there were considered legal nonconforming uses because of the time that they were there. The RV parks were there. He concludes that the 2 mobile homes, were there before, prior to the 1984 zoning code, which made them legal nonconforming uses. Furthermore, he also stated that those 4 RVs that were considered legal, that were not considered part of the RV, were also considered legal nonconforming uses. And he concludes that in addition to the 10 RV, he concluded that and no more than 14 RV would be occupying the premises at any time. So basically, he stated that he gave approval for the 14 RV spaces, the 10 that were already approved with a conditional use permit, and the clarification of the 4 that were not within the RV park. The conditional use permit that was approved in 2005 expired in 2015. With the change of ownership and miscommunication, the current owners did not know that their conditional use permit had expired. Staff notified them and gave them direction to apply for a new conditional use permit. The applicant came forward and is applying for a new conditional use permit. This time around, he is requesting approval of 22 unit RV park for the 14 that are already permitted and the additional ones. The applicant has gone through the citizens review process. He conducted a neighborhood meeting in November of last year. During that meeting, that meeting had one attendance of one resident located north of the property. She had no issues with the proposal of the applicant. She did want that the applicant extend the property. I believe she lived over here, and she wanted the fence to be extended all the way to the rear to serve as a buffer between her property and Primrose. December 5th of 2017, the applicant went before the Planning and Zoning Commission. The Planning and Zoning Commission didn't see any further issues. They did want to see and add as a stipulation that if residential units were to be developed in the future to the west of the property, that also a fence line be extended, serving as a buffer. The property is in conformance with with its general plan designation. The two components of the motel and the RVs are in conformance with a commercial multifamily residential land use designation with a general plan. The property is also in conformance with its current zoning. The commercial light zoning allows motels as a permitted use. And furthermore, it allows an RV park not to exceed 25 units with a conditional use. The applicant is not exceeding those 25. He's requesting for 22. With input from staff, external departments, feedback from the residents and the zoning commission, the staff and the planning and zoning commission are recommending approval of for a conditional use permit to allow 22-unit RV park for Primrose Inn and RV with the following conditions. Staff and planning and zoning commission put forth these conditions that the applicant apply for an encroachment permit. This was guidance that we received from ADOT when they came in for feasibility. I believe that every time there's a change of property, the new property owner needs to apply for an encroachment permit. ADOT also notified that their driveways needed to be up to their standards to ADA and be ADA compliant, so that we added that as a condition. As the eight additional spaces come in, Yavapai encouraged the applicant to upgrade his septic system to meet the demands of that density, the increase of population within the parcel. And again, from feedback from the residents and the commission, that the fence be extended to the northwest and the west as development came in for residents, if development came in from residents. The applicant is here. If the council or the mayor have any questions for him or myself. Yes, sir.
On the RV recreational vehicle, is there a timeline that they can be in that park? Like a motel, you come for a day or two or a week. In our UDO group, that's one of the subjects we're starting to think about.
I would allow the applicant to answer that question for you. Before we go forward, though, and he answers that question, I would like to show the site plan that he submitted with a conditional use permit. As you see here, this is where the motel is at. These are the location of the RV park with its the history of approval for the 10 spaces. The mobile home right here, located here and here, which are now considered legal non-conforming use. And the RVs that were in question, located here and here. And here in the back, and then there's another one here in the rear. So the applicant, if he gets approval for the 8 additional spaces, he is planning to locate them to the rear of the property and to the south.
A question.
Yeah, hold on, this gentleman's gonna come up and
Then he might be able to answer everything
his
at one
question
time.
first, and then we'll get to you. Go ahead.
My name is Tim Hendrickson. I live at 1799 Savage Lane in Prescott. I've been working on this project ever since the Vitterbos acquired it, probably 13, 15 years ago. How this all started was we had a fire on the property. We had a 30-some-year-old mobile home, double wide, in the rear of the property that had been there and had been a rental unit for some time, and it burned down, I believe, late in 16. We demolished it and got it out there, cleaned it out in 17, and we're just trying to improve the property. We subsequently had, been working on a site plan to, do a little bit of improvements on it to clean the back half of the property up. It'd always been, kind of a mess in the back, and we just would like to finish the property out. One of the things that we've asked for is we've been in there. The property's been this for a long time. We've asked for a perpetual use permit.
You're gonna backfeed it, sounds like.
We've asked for a perpetual use permit. We don't have any problem staying below the 25 units. I think we're designed right now for 22. That's fine with us. We've done. History will tell us that the Vitterbos have just done everything in their power to improve the property. If you drive by it now from a decade and a half ago, it's a big improvement. I mean, I think they've just done nothing but try to make the neighborhood and make that property nicer.
Okay, let's cut that off completely. Cut it off.
The question that I asked was, how long can someone reside in one of those spaces? Is there a code that covers that, which would make it a mobile home park versus a recreational vehicle park, is my thought process.
We currently have a couple mobile homes that are there. We have a couple park models. There's a couple older mobile homes that have been there for decades. We're trying to get moved out. We're calling ourselves an RV park, but there's full-time RVers that stay for a long time, months and months and months. Some of the people probably live in their mobile motorhome or travel trailer, full time, and they probably spend months in Chino Valley, Arizona, and probably months in Yuma. And I think that we have people there that have probably resided a year at a time, but we have people that come and go every couple months. I don't know there's a specific code that reflects that. We're not trying to install mobile homes. Most of our stuffs are just RVs that could be moved on a minute's notice.
Sir, can I address that? Council member, I think there's a difference between what's allowed on a residential property as far as RV staying as well as in an RV park, but we will address some of this through the code.
Okay, thank you. That was just the clarification, because it's one of the subjects I believe we're going to be working in the UDO on.
Anybody else over here?
Corey.
Will this process clean up the legal non-conforming at this point, or will that still maintain those other 4 units or 4 spaces? They will still be in a legal non-conforming, or are we able to clean this up?
Thank you, Mayor and Councilmember Mendoza. The intent of this application, as it was originally filed, it was an application to add 8 RVs. And we stepped back and said there's no sense in having non-conforming RVs and then conforming RVs. The CUP is for 22 RV spaces in the park. So it'll basically cover over the old non-conforming uses because there's no use for it any longer to have that status.
That's great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Comments?
Just a comment. I have been familiar with this property for years and years, the folks that even owned it before the current owner. And I will say that when these folks came in, the renovation they did to the motel and the structures that were there was beyond, a great job. I've had many of my family members stay at that little hotel and told them, it's the comfy place. And the property's kept well, and I agree with you that I think they've done a great job to be a good service to Chino Valley as far as a business.
Okay. Hearing no further questions, I'm going to ask for a motion.
Can I address the council one more time?
Sure.
The biggest item, and I know it doesn't seem like a big deal, but we've never had any violations. I don't think we've had any issues with the town. I'm sure we've had a mishap here or there. The thing that I'm asking for really is if we can have a perpetual use permit. I mean, obviously the town could still come if we all of a sudden went rogue and went bad. I think that a use permit still can be revoked. I just, to have to come back in front of you guys every 5 years or every 10 years, it's really puts a hardship when we work with the banks. It puts a hardship when we do new improvements. When we do it, we've made a huge commitment. The Vitterbos have made a huge commitment to improving this property. I don't think they'll see daylight for decades, you know, with the money they put in this, but I don't think they care. I think they wanted to make a statement and make it nice, and I think that they just, if you drive by there every day, I think it's just always an improvement. And we're looking to, we follow the rules, we do the best we can, and we're trying to get rid of the old stuff that's been there 20 and 30 years, and we're trying to improve everything and do it right. And like I said, if we could get perpetual, and all of you guys council can do an action to revoke that, I think if we went rogue at any time, but you're just not seeing that from us.
Okay. Mr. Sanks, please come up there.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, in regards to the time stipulation, the council can elect to put another expiration date if it so chooses of 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. But in light of the fact that the property has been an operating motel since 1942 and had been an RV park for 30, is that how long? At least 17 years. The fact that they ran it well, it's clean, there's not any outstanding property code violations on it. We don't necessarily see it an issue in maintaining it in perpetuity. If for something were to change, we could initiate a revocation of the use permit.
This agenda item was for what? What period was this agenda item for?
It's for
We don't have an
conditional use.
expiration date on this current
Expiration,
application.
okay.
If staff didn't feel it was necessary.
Is there a desire to do in perpetuity? Or
I would be fine. It's been there for that many years now.
I have no problem with it.
anybody have an issue with?
It still falls under the conditional use,
Yeah,
Yes.
yes.
just with no expiration. Is that correct?
That's correct,
That's
Councilmember.
correct, with no expiration. Okay? Now can I have a motion?
Okay, we'll make a motion to approve a conditional use permit to allow a 22-unit RV park for Primrose Inn and RV with the conditions as presented and discussed, with the addition that this will have no expiration date.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Let's move on to item C. Consideration of possible action to approve a CUP 17-004 for Olson Grain in order to install an electrical information sign on a 9.88 acre property located approximately 860 feet north of the northwest corner of West Road 1 North and State Road Route 89 at 334 South State Route 89 and identified as accessory particle number 3029029C. Owner Olson Shiska. Mr. Sanks.
Thank you, Mayor. And again, council members. Olson's Grain's in front of you tonight for a request for approval of a conditional use permit for their electronic message board sign. It would be new. You may be familiar with the current sign. It's just it's a pole sign kind of. It's got an acrylic panel. It's across the street from the Days Inn. I pass it every day, as most of us do. But they'd like to get their message out there, as most do when they want to invest in the electronic reader board. And so our code does require it to be a discretionary review by council so that we can look at items like, the size, location, frequency of message changes, etc. And so that's what we've done. This is, of course, a picture of the building. And this is the subject property here. As I said, it's across the street from the Days Inn, just the north of the northwest corner of West Road 1 South and 89. The buildings, of course, are set back further from the street, but this sign would be set back approximately 6 feet from the right-of-way line, so they get that visibility from that 89 traffic. More or less in the same location where it's at now. Zoom in on the property here for you. And this is the new sign. It's kind of the same idea as it is now, except that the electronic message panel is located somewhat there, as you can see in the middle of the sign. It is actually 15 feet tall. You may have noted in our code, there's a code provision for 12-foot tall signs, but there's an additional provision that if the grade difference between where the sign is and where the road is, like if it drops down for retention or drainage, they can go up to another 3 feet to accommodate that, and they've done so. So they meet code requirements in regards to sign height. Here's kind of a locational, just of course on the north side of the entry drive to the facility. And the existing sign, of course, would be removed. This would be a replacement. This is a recap of the sign regulations. I know it's in your staff report as well, but here it is for the public if they'd like to see it on the PowerPoint. We've taken, of course, care to make sure that it meets all other regulations in regards to height, location, size, square footage, et cetera, and it does meet all of our conditions. It is set back 6 feet from the property line. And you can see here, based on the speed limit on the 89 being over 35 miles per hour, they're allowed to go to 12 feet with that 3-foot bonus for the grading. Maximum sign area is 96 square feet. They're under that. Now, the electronic message panels are a little different. If you can look over there on the right, you can see the standards. You have an 8-foot minimum height to the bottom of the sign panel or the top of the sign panel. They've made sure that the electronic message panel is as high as it can go while meeting code requirements. So we've taken some care on this one. You know, electronic message panel signs are interesting. They can be very helpful, and they can also be kind of a nuisance. We're always concerned about the amount of glare and how we control it. I don't know if any of you have had the experience of passing by a large LED sign and it blinds you at night. And as you know, this is a relatively dark stretch of 89. When you drive out there, it's kind of the only thing is you'll see the Little Days Inn sign over there and the existing Olson's Grain sign. Because as you know, the building lighting is set way, way back off the road. So there's not much illuminating 89 right at the street frontage. So we talked with them in depth about it, and you'll learn a little technology tonight if you haven't heard the terms already. We usually measure light in terms of foot candles at property line. LED signs are measured in what's called nits, and it measures their brightness. And most of these signs have damper controls and illumination controls to reduce the brightness at night. So during the day when you have broad daylight, the signs are brighter so you can read them during the day, but then they automatically dim at night. And generally, I like to take everyone's word for it, and I wish I was a professional sign installation person that knows exactly what brightness means. But what we've done is, and you'll see in your conditions where we do recommend approval, is that if we find that the sign brightness becomes a nuisance and we get someone to call in on it or call a complaint on it, that they will agree to come back to staff, and development services will agree with them to reduce, which they can do manually, the brightness of that sign at night. So we don't have to take a gamble that this could be a nuisance while we drive down the 89. So what we've got up here is just an indication from the technology side or the software control side of the sign that you can reduce the brightness. So, you know, by midnight it's at 40% brightness. You know, during the day it's at 100%. In the evening it's also at 40%. These are examples of what they'll set. We did review this as well last month with staff. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed it. We looked at it carefully. You can see these conditions were crafted specifically to not only control brightness, but also control the distraction that you would get from signs. We've done a lot of research on how quickly message changes occur in other states and other cities. I've worked on sign codes before and rewritten them for this purpose. What you don't want to have is, to be honest, some of those car wash places that you'll see with spinning and flashing signs that are animated, yelling at you, $3 car wash or something like that. We don't want to see that. We want to see more static messages and steady transitions, like 2-second changes, and then another static message, so that they're not constantly scrolling, so people that are driving down 89 aren't constantly looking over. Further, ADOT also has their own requirements, and we've been conscious to match theirs so that we're respecting our neighbors. So you'll see condition 1 listed up there, that the sign shall not contain any form of animation and must remain static for at least 8 seconds with a transition time of no greater than 2 seconds. Subsequently, it talks about meeting ADOT's requirements. Second addresses the condition I drafted earlier about the town receives complaints from community residents of excessive brightness or glare at night. The applicant shall submit sign modification plans to our department for review and approval to ensure brightness and glare levels are reduced to satisfactory levels. And lastly, these signs, so they're not considered billboards by ADOT or even ourselves. Technically, we don't really talk about billboards as much in our code. We're not as concerned, but ADOT doesn't want commercial property owners putting in electronic message panel signs along the 89 and then advertising whatever they want, you know, for anybody else, like a billboard would, like a commercial billboard. So what they have to do is just keep all of the sign messages exclusive to the operations of the business. You know, if they're going to have a sale or even an event at Olson's Grain, they could put that on there, but they couldn't, for example, you know, put Safeway paper towels 99 cents on sale or something like that for an off-site commercial user. So those are the 3 recommendations we have. We did have a 4th recommendation that came from P&Z. That was dropped. It was in regards to the the vinyl panel, the white panel that was once upon a time on this sign, it's now blue. You might recall from the elevation, it's a blue panel sign. P&Z was concerned that the white panel would look unattractive or be excessively bright at night, and they wanted a diffuser put on it to keep it darker so that the whole panel wouldn't light just the letters, and that's no longer relevant. Plus, I spoke with Phyllis, and our concern is that us trying to determine how a sign is going to appear outside of the electronic message panel is outside the purview of the CUP, which is specific for the message panel, not the architecture of the rest of the sign. So that's a long story. If you happen to see the P&Z minutes and were wondering where the condition went, we stripped it from there because we didn't actually feel like it could legally be attached to the CUP. So all that said, staff and P&Z are both recommending approval, and we're happy to answer questions. Also, the sign company representative is here as well.
Questions?
Yes. You know, prior to you coming on board here, we spent a lot of time going over our sign code rewrite.
Yes.
And
Council member.
we are already now having to go into a CUP to authorize a sign.
I can
Why is that so?
Mayor and Councilmember Mendoza, I think that there's a couple approaches we can take to this, and I will be honest, I'm a little surprised that every message panel sign in this technology is subject to discretionary review and isn't on your agenda. In many codes that I've worked in, electronic message panels are allowed, but it's certainly under lots of restrictions. Maybe they can only comprise half the sign area of the total sign. They already say you can only change the messages once every, so many seconds. Those sorts of things can be layered into a sign code that don't require a council approval, subject to just staff review like any other sign. It would be regulated. We could all decide what that is. So during the UDO rewrite, if that's something that you so choose, and I don't want to go too off topic before Phyllis gets me, we can look at that, whether you believe we should be processing these in that fashion. This is, you've done a few of these and we kind of keep doing them all the same, which kind of tells you just make the code that way and then we don't have to keep putting it on an agenda, unless you'd like to see it in that manner. But we usually condition them all the same. So that's the long answer to your question.
Yes,
so.
I have no objection to this, but during the code rewrite process that we're entering, let's maybe make a note. And again, without going off topic,
Certainly.
let's visit it when we do the rewrite.
Okay.
Anyone else? Can I have a motion?
Well, first before we do that, I just want to make sure that everybody sees that this is actually one south, not one north, as it is in here. So we don't approve a sign location over across from Doug's Exxon. For Olson's Grain.
Thank you. I believe that may have been a carryover typo. I apologize if it's still in there. We thought we corrected it.
Okay, just so we got it.
Good.
Okay, make a motion to approve a conditional use permit for the proposed electrical display for Olson's Grain, subject to the conditions as presented and discussed.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
2 seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Do we have the sound fixed now, town manager?
We'd like to disconnect from Skype and call her back.
Let's take a 5-minute break and we'll come back and see if we have sound.
Joe's up. Let's take like a 4-day break.
Let's take a.
Give
We-
me a chance to get
that's
that
not because you walked up
49
here.
page PowerPoint up.
Can we order pizza?
We know.
So I'll use the arrow.
Hey, can I have your timer, please, Mayor? No, the timer. Thank you. Let me know when you're ready to start, sir.
Okay, I'm ready. Well, you might have to turn over one more time, so give me 6
Okay,
minutes.
You said 3 minutes.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council.
let me read the agenda item. Item D, presentation and discussion regarding the results and findings of the water and wastewater rate study. Part 2 is consideration and possible action to approve a notice of intention to increase water and wastewater rates, fees, and service charges and set a public hearing date. Mr. Duffy.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. As you know, it's been a little over 5 years since we adopted our last rate increase, or actually looked at all of our water and sewer rates. This evening is basically step one in the public process of actually going about the process of adopting the rates. And so what we do tonight is adopt a notice of intention, basically letting the public know, hey, we're talking about our water and wastewater rates, And over the next 60 days, we have a nice little report that you can review with all the information on the rate changes and the proposals that we're making. And then after 60 days, on March 27th, we will have a public hearing and go through a formal presentation. I'll go over this report in detail at that time and take input from the public in a public hearing process. And then mayor and council can make the decision on what they want to do with the rates. But I'd like to just quickly go over a few of the slides. This is really the presentation that I will have at the public hearing. The report will be on the website if you approve it this evening, and we'll make it available. Of course, we'll advertise it and start talking about it. So essentially, the last time we adopted rates was in February of 13. And at that time, we adopted a 5-year water and wastewater rate increase schedule. On December 8th, the town council decided to hold off on the sewer increases. We'd done 3, we had 2 more to go, and we held our sewer rate at $64.14. And if we hadn't have done that, our sewer rate today would be $79.02. And then on May 23rd, just last spring, we made some tweaks to it for the multifamily housing. The rates in the rate study that we're going to address are the water system rates, the wastewater system rates. I've looked at water buy-in fees and wastewater buy-in fees. It's the exact same thing we did 5 years ago. The 3 options that I'm going to propose for the water rates is option 1, no rate increase, and I'm going to show you the financial effects of that. Option 2, a 3% rate increase over the next 5 years. And option 3, a 5% rate increase over the next 3 years. For the wastewater, basically the same thing. We're going to start with no rate increase, 3% rate increase for the next 5 years, and option 3 is a $2 or a $3 one-time rate decrease. Now, the reason I did it as one time is since we're increasing rates, we got to go through this public process, public hearing, all this notification. But according to Phyllis, if we just decrease a rate in the future, we don't need to go through the process. So I'm recommending my recommendation is not to increase sewer rates. But if council decides that they want to bring sewer rates down, it's something that we can look at every year for the next few years to get us a little bit closer to that average state rate. Because I know we've talked about doing that. So it gives us the flexibility, but we're not locked into reducing rates over the short term.
Joe, can we not, if we wanted to decrease a rate, can we not do that within this plan?
Yes, you can do
Okay.
it within this plan right now. You can set the rates to wherever you want to.
Okay.
I'm recommending only doing it one time if we do it, just for 1 year, and then looking at it next year and seeing where we're at and see if, well, maybe we can do it again instead of
Okay.
having like a 5-year rate decrease
Okay.
plan. That's what I'm recommending. With that, I did some comparisons of other communities I'll show you, a detailed analysis on the water and wastewater buy-in fees, and these are the rates that I've proposed in the report. Now, understand that the rates being proposed are staff's recommendations. Haven't had any of your input, and so we'll bring it to you, and you guys will make the final decision and on what you want to do with the water and wastewater rates. So that's really all I have this evening. I'll have this presentation in detail. In fact, if you'd like, I could send it to you tomorrow so you can look at it, but that's what I'll give at the public hearing.
So tonight, we're just doing the intent to raise, and
Just
we've
the
made
intent.
no decision on what we're going to do yet, raise, increase, or whatever.
No.
Okay, we'll make that clear. Any questions? Questions?
No.
Then I'll have a motion, please.
Do we make a motion?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
Oh, to adopt the notice, okay.
Yeah.
Make a motion to adopt the notice of intention to increase water and wastewater rates, fees, and service charges, and set a public hearing on the proposed rates for March 27th, 2018.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. You okay, Jack?
Yeah, it was 6 minutes is all I wanted to make
okay.
a point for the record.
Okay,
Can I second
Yeah,
the
it is.
next one? I think I left out.
sure. Go ahead. No. Okay, let's talk about item E. Consideration possible action to 1, hold a public hearing for 2018 Community Development Block Grant CDBG funding, and 2, select a project for CDBG funding. Mr. Marbury, again.
Okay, am I on the clock?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'll try and be as brief as possible. What we've got here is every 4 years the town has allocated some CDBG funds, and this year we're estimating $321,357, but that number's subject to change with federal allocations. And what we've got moving forward, we've had one public hearing on this process. The project we've got going, I'll flip through some of this to be quicker. Previous projects we've done Head Start, Food Bank, Health Department, we've done some sewer projects and flooding projects, and the last project we did 4 years ago was some paving in Chino Meadows 5 subdivision. This year's project, we're proposing to try to finish up as much of that subdivision as we can. And this is a picture from the last project we did. So here's a map of the proposal that staff is putting forward. This is Porcupine Pass Road and Road 2 North. So Chino Meadows 5 is east of Highway 89. And all these roads that are highlighted in yellow are the roads we're proposing to put some asphalt on with this project. They're currently dirt roads. So like I said, the CDBG grant amount is estimated about $321,000. Right now, our engineer's estimate for the project is a little over that at $380,000. If we decide to move forward with this project and the estimate is still higher, we may need to, I think Isabel said, we need to pass a resolution to authorize the town to contribute town funds to that project. I also intend to write the contract to where we can add and remove certain streets to meet our funding availability depending on how bid prices come in. The Cottonwood Lane that I have here, say it won't qualify for CDBG funds, but we just found out today that even with that road in there, we can proceed with the project and include it in the project as qualifying. So that's a recent update as early as today. In addition to the $380,000, we also look to have our road crews put down a gravel base for these roads before the paving that we will supply with our own town funding. That price should be anywhere between $20,000 and $40,000 of materials that we will put down with our own forces. This is the same process that was done in 2014, so we're just trying to follow the same process. On December 11th, 2017, we held our first public hearing, and tonight we're looking to hold the second public hearing as part of the process. In that first public hearing, that was the time for any of the public to propose projects for the CDBG funding, and the town was the only one to propose any projects. So we're looking to maybe get the grant late spring, early summer, and the way it works with dispersing the money, the actual construction of this project is going to be next year. So next spring in 2019. So any funding that we provide through our town budget will be next year's budget for that. And that's all I have for slides. Isabel Rollins with NACOG is here if we have any questions as far as the process with her. And we do need to try and hold a public hearing on this. So,
Do you have any input for us?
You did a good job, and staff did a good job in getting the income survey done. We had to make sure the neighborhood qualified for the funds. And
She should come up.
Why don't you come up and speak to us?
Again, this is Isabel Rollins with NACOG.
Hi, I oversee the Community Development Block Grant Funds in Northern Arizona, and Frank covered all the most important points. Funds come around every 4 years. There's a public hearing to get project input. There was just the one project proposed, and staff did an income survey to make sure that it was qualified for the funds. That just got done. So everything's good to go. There's the choice should be easy for which project to move forward with, since there's just one. But you can still open the meeting for any comment, if anybody has comments. And
Thank you. We need to open a public hearing.
Okay,
Make a motion.
we'll make a motion to hold a public hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're now in a public hearing. Do we have any comments? Hearing none. Motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Does anyone in the council have questions, comments? Okay,
You're not quick enough, Annie.
so then I'll ask for a motion.
Okay. Make a motion to approve the Chino Meadows 5 paving project as town selected project for 2018 CDBG funding.
Second.
You're off. You're off.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Yay!
Beat you, Jack.
Got it. Item F, consideration possible action to approve the Town of Chino Valley Technology Plan. Mr. Guest.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to come and talk about the proposed Chino Valley Technology Plan. So I'm going to try to do a brief overview of this. I know it's like a 40-page plan, so we'll do the best we can. So, I mean, why do we need a technology plan? One of the things that's one of the things I think we need to ask is, why do we need one? A few reasons that I could pull out, and I just wanted to point out to you, is number one, we need to align the technology purchases with the town goals and objectives. Many times when we look at some technology or software, they don't have a well-defined goal established, and this often leads to a purchase of technology that is really not well suited to fulfill the needs of the town. The plan helps to establish a methodology to properly evaluate what your goals or objectives are, and allows you to find the best technology tool to fulfill that need. Also, another reason is expense. Purchasing software and technology, as you probably are aware, is very, very expensive. And if you have a lot of requests that come from many different departments, we need a way. It becomes imperative that we prioritize and plan our technology initiatives so they can fall within the budgetary limitations. The third reason a technology plan can allow you to be more efficient and effective with your purchases. So, for example, if you have a single department that's asking for a little need that needs to be fulfilled, if you think about it, sometimes if you look at a broader piece of software, sometimes you can fulfill that little need as well as fulfilling needs for a lot of departments within the town, and then you get much more value out of your money when you make a purchase fulfilling a broader amount of needs. So the plan allows us to look at a broader picture, make smarter decisions, and reduce the amount of purchases we make. As it's written, the current plan is written as a 10-year technology plan. It provides a roadmap to make decisions for fiscal years 27, 2018 through 2026, 27. Also, just want to mention that we are looking at this as a living document, something that we can revise, make revisions to going into the future to accommodate changes and updates as they happen. So just a quick broad overview of the sections of the plan. If you guys want to get more in depth and actually look at the details of the plan, it is provided in the agenda packet. So if anyone wants to read it in detail, it is provided on our website. So just a quick overview of the table of contents. Just wanted to give you an idea of the sections that the plan is broken into. So beside the introduction and the executive summary, we have the past and current IT environment, current IT trends and considerations, technology initiative request review and prioritization, selection criteria and evaluation, the plan revision, planned and future initiatives, budget, and the glossary sections that are in the plan. Okay, so just a quick overview. So the one of the first sections of past and current IT environment. So this section kind of gives us an idea of excuse me, I'll lose my place here. So this area gives us a short overview of the history about our town, where our IT environment has come from, where it is today. It talks about some of the limitations that we've experienced and how to avoid those limitations in the future. And having an understanding of the history and the current environment allows us to, I think, learn and to avoid future pitfalls and make smarter decisions as we pursue new technologies, unlike this teen who wants to learn the hard way. All right. The next section is the current IT trends and considerations. So, going forward, when we discuss some of the current IT trends in the plan, we discuss those trends and how they would affect the town and its IT decisions. Now, how that impacts our decisions and the selection processes that we make. Think in terms of like mobile devices, something that is kind of a more modern trend that everybody's jumping on, the cloud computing, software as a service. Those things are discussed, and an understanding of these trends allows us to, I think, get out of the past and make decisions that embrace the innovations that have come out in technology and that are always coming out every day. So technology initiative request, review, and prioritization. So this section of the plan is intended to ensure that the initiatives that are planned are thoroughly thought out before they're pursued. We're not trying to fix those half-baked ideas that sometimes someone will throw out. We want to make sure that those ideas are thought out thoroughly. In this section, you'll see that Technology Review Committee is established. And that is composed of represented stakeholders from every department within the town. And that committee will also help each department formalize the requests that they make for technology and assist with the prioritization of the technology initiatives. As well, in this section, it details the initiative request guidelines, which is basically a section that helps people to formalize the requests that they're making for technology so that they fully understand the technology, how they're making the request, make sure that they understand the goals and objectives that they're trying to accomplish with the technology, and those objectives are clearly defined. And then as well, the technology, there's a section within this area that talks about technology initiative prioritization. The technology committee, part of the review process, is where technology initiatives are formally evaluated to ensure that they have completed the initiative request guidelines and then prioritized based upon factors such as the town council goals and objectives, whether it fulfills the multi-department needs, if it can be used town-wide, and any budgetary factors and limitations. All right, the next section is the selection criteria and evaluation. This section offers some suggestions on how to approach and review, to approach the review and selection of technology when we are looking at potential vendors. This is important to ensure that you end up getting the right tool for the job rather than some expensive tool that just doesn't work or is too inefficient. The criteria includes things such as, does the technology fulfill the need that it was intended for? Are there Are there any IT security problems with the potential solution? Can the technology be used townwide or across departments? Is the vendor product offerings or product portfolio broad enough that we can use the same vendor to fulfill several needs rather than just one little need? How easily can the solution integrate with our current IT software and environment? Is the vendor solution web-based or mobile device compatible? Is the solution financially sustainable? So it offers a lot of things that we need to consider when we're going to look at these vendors so that we get the proper tool to fulfill the need. Plan revision just basically talks about the fact that the plan is established on a revision schedule of about by the technology committee of 5 to 10 years as is necessary based on the completeness of the plan or any significant unforeseen changes in the town or technology proposed. It also should be noted, I think, that that only some of the areas of the plan will actually require updating. The intent is not to rewrite the entire plan, but to modify those sections that actually need to be modified, such as adding and removing initiatives, schedules, budget, and trends. The section on plan to future initiatives, this is the section that basically tells us what the initiatives are that we'll be pursuing for the next 10 years. It offers an initiative implementation schedule. So on your screen you can see that this is just a sample of a larger schedule that's within the plan to give you an idea of how the initiatives are planned out and blocked out to the fiscal years. The current initiatives are broken into categories, ongoing into the initiatives of ongoing initiatives that are continual, short-range initiatives that are 1 to 4 to 5 years, mid-range initiatives 4.5 to 7, and then long-range initiatives 8 or more. They're broken down into the fiscal years, as you saw on the previous slide, of when they are planned for implementation, and they're broken down into minor and major initiatives based on how large the project is as well as the cost of the project. Then there's a section below that that talks about, or within that section, that talks about the initiative, it describes the initiative and details the information about each initiative. So basically it has the information from the request and review guidelines completely filled out in a tabular format. And this is a kind of a sample of one of the areas, one initiative that as documented. Then there's a budgetary section that just kind of gives you a broad overview of the breakdown of the plan initiatives and some of the rough estimates of costs. Some costs, as you can see from the table, are upfront costs, they're purchase costs, and others are ongoing costs that are related to continuing support, the fees that go along with the support, and the renewal fees. I think it should also be stressed when you're looking at budget that these costs that are detailed are actually very rough costs. Many times you will not ever get the exact cost of any one product until you go to an RFP or go to some sort of formal bidding or request for quotes. The final section is the glossary, and as you guys are aware, in technology it's very important to have a glossary to interpret the IT terminology. And I know you're painfully aware of all the acronyms that they use in technology. Well, this document does have some of those in there, and the glossary is an attempt to try to define some of those terms within the plan. With that, I will entertain any questions, comments, or concerns you have about
Questions
the plan.
on this side?
No, sir.
Questions on this side?
I just have one question.
Sure.
As I looked over kind of part of this, are we still going to make an effort to get rid of our $22,000 bill with Cable One, or is that not feasible?
As of I know right now, that is going to remain in effect.
Okay.
For the time being. Unless we are gonna pursue some other method of communication between the facilities, that is gonna be a bill we will continue to see coming through
Okay.
here. It has a lot to do with the towers project that, as you're aware, was not ever able to be completed due to the lack of people that are willing to do it.
I understand that, but I mean, we had talked about trying to do that and then go ahead, and I thought we had bought some of the equipment already to make that, or we just priced the equipment.
I price the equipment. I never buy IT technology equipment until it's ready to go up. It
Okay,
is
I
very-
just wasn't sure about that, but I mean, it was
Yes.
it's just a big bill that we have that if we could get rid of, or at least reduce it by some way by doing a different way of communication or passing information along.
I agree.
I'm sure there's a lot of departments that would like to have a chunk of that money.
Councilmember Best, you're right. I mean, I have always kind of cringed at the idea of having that connection, but it's always kind of been one of those things that how else are we going to do it? And we had looked at the wireless communications. That has its own dangers and potential for failure. So I think it's something that we can revisit, but we got to be careful how we do it so that we don't lose communication between any of our facilities.
No, I don't want to lose communications. I just want to go ahead and, as much as possible, reduce our costs.
I agree, yes. And if another option opens up, I will definitely be looking down that road as well.
Mayor.
Thank you for your presentation.
Mayor,
Anybody
may I-
over here?
Mayor?
Yes.
If I could just say a few things. I think part of what Spencer's trying to say too is that we'll revisit that, Councilmember Best, if the options with technology even get better. Spencer didn't necessarily recommend that we go to just point-to-point anyway. He was a little worried about the data integrity. Secondly, I really want to thank Spencer for his work on this. This has been a multi-year project, and as you can see with the dollar cost, this is a huge concern for us. And with changes in management, not just at the manager level, but department head, he gets yanked around quite a bit on demands, and it's hard for him to prioritize. So this should help the whole organization to come to a systematic approach to buying the IT needs that we have here for the organization.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else over here?
I just wanted to say thank you also.
Thank you. My life's not very exciting, so I spent a large part of an afternoon reading this document and impressed the hell out of me. I think he did a lot of work. It's a great plan if we can be followed it. Thank you. Thank you for the work you did, and I'm impressed.
Thank you, Mayor.
And I didn't go to sleep either, so that's.
You ready?
Yeah, let's have a motion.
Okay, make a motion to approve the Town of Chino Valley Technology Plan.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? All in favor? It's passed. Thank you. Thank you, Spencer. Okay, let's go on to G. Item G, I'll read the agenda, the action item. Consideration possible action to adopt ordinance number 18843, declaring the document entitled the 2012 to 2014 amendments to the tax code of the town of Chino Valley. I'm going to stop there because I have a recommendation by staff that this item be postponed to the next meeting because the attorney has some changes. So I need a motion in that direction.
So you want a motion to postpone?
Postpone it to the next meeting.
Okay, we're gonna make a motion to postpone G, 7G, until the next meeting.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Now it's Jack's turn.
we're not there. I'm not letting Jack do it. I'm going to ask Councilperson Lane to.
I'll let Jack have it, actually.
Number 8, executive session. We have nothing for the executive session. Let's go on to number 9. No agenda items revised. Let's do 10, Jack.
I'm not doing it.
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll
Favor,
second.
say aye.
Aye.
That's good. We're out of here. Thank you. Thank everybody for coming tonight.
It's fun being here.
Seeing so many people thought